ABC News.
As our world changes, we'll keep you up to date with the latest information. News Talk KVNU 102 FM 610 AM.
KVNU News Time is 5:05. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by U&I Furniture. Authorities have released the identity of the 69-year-old Wellsville woman killed in Wednesday's traffic crash. Janice Bradshaw died after the car she was driving is believed to have lost control, spinning her into oncoming traffic. Utah Highway Patrol Sergeant Kate Brenchley said Bradshaw was driving a Honda Accord northbound along US 8991 at about 4:50 p.m. Near the American West Heritage Center. Bradshaw is believed to have tried to pass a truck hauling a trailer in the inside lane. As the Honda moved around the truck, it is suspected to have hit some standing water on the highway. The water caused the car to hydroplane and slide across the road into oncoming traffic, where it was struck by a southbound Dodge pickup truck. Brenchley said Bradshaw was wearing a seatbelt but likely died instantly from the impact of the crash. She was pronounced dead at the scene by first responders. Heavy rain and thunderstorms were reported at the time of the accident. Brenchley said the occupants of the pickup truck sustained minor injuries. They were emotionally devastated but declined medical treatment and did not have to be hospitalized. Bradshaw's family told troopers she had just left home and was headed to the store to pick up some items. Brenchley said there were no indications of any impairment. All of the evidence suggests it was a tragic accident, but highlights the importance of being alert to how quickly driving conditions can change in inclement weather. Funeral services are still being arranged. The highway was partially closed for 3 hours. Because of the accident, traffic along 8991 was reduced to one lane in each direction, while troopers investigated and cleared the crash, backing up traffic for more than a mile in each direction. KVNU News Time is 5:07. KVNU weather for tonight, a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms this evening, and then partly cloudy after midnight, overnight low in the low 60s. Partly cloudy, slight chance of rain showers in the morning, then partly cloudy, rain showers likely, and a chance of thunderstorms in the afternoon, high around 90. Chance of precipitation, 70%. 70% chance of showers Friday night into Saturday as well. 90 has been our high. It's 88 right now at KVNU. KVNU weather brought to you by Maple Creek Ranch. Equestrian communities are designed for all different lifestyles. 2.5-acre lots are available now, so schedule your appointment today at maplecreekranch.net. That's maplecreekranch.net.
People love shopping at UNI Furniture. They know they're going to get a great price on a quality piece of furniture. And one section of the store is Chair Heaven, where UNI has a big selection of rocker recliners, power recliners, big chairs, chairs for the petite, swivel chairs, accent chairs, lift chairs, all kinds of chairs. UNI works hard to have the inventory you're looking for. In fact, they order new furniture on almost a daily basis to keep stocked up. So if you need a sofa love, sectional, a new dining room set, stop in and see why there really is always a better buy at UNI Furniture in downtown Logan at 28 West 1st North.
KVNU News Time is 5:08. After a rough year and a half, a helpful resource for caregivers is opening up further as the Dementia Dialogue, sponsored by the Sunshine Terrace Foundation, resumes next month. On KVNU's For the People program on Wednesday, Amy Anderson said many of these programs have been on pause for over a year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were able to sneak in a small version of Dementia Dialogues with a limited audience back in the wintertime, but we are thrilled to be able to offer it again in August.
And she said they are pleased about being able to once again educate the community on caregiving issues. And Utah's daily coronavirus count eclipsed 1,000 cases Thursday for the first time in 5 months as a summer siege of the virus triggered concerns from state officials. Data from the Utah Health Department showed the state's weekly positivity rate of 14.7% was also the highest since February. Governor Cox called it another step in the wrong direction and renewed his plea for residents to get vaccinated. Children younger than 12 cannot yet get vaccinated, but Cox says that mask mandates for schools are not necessary now, and he won't push to change a state law prohibiting mandates in individual districts. And no report today from Bear River Health Department. KBNU News Time is 5:10. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com.
Where you find out. News Talk KVNU 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
This is Cache County Fire Chief Rod Hammer asking for your continued help. The state forester has determined that measures must be taken to prevent the ignition of forest and rangeland fires. Therefore, the following acts are prohibited: no building, maintaining, attending, or using any fire, campfire, or stove fire, including charcoal grills and barbecues, coal and wood-burning stoves and tin stoves, at homes and in developed camping and picnic grounds. There is an exception for devices using pellets, pressurized liquid fuel, or gas that include shutoff valves. They are permitted when used in an area at least 3 feet or more from flammable material such as grasses or pine needles. No smoking except within an enclosed vehicle, trailer, or building, a developed recreation site, or while stopped in an area that is paved or free from dry vegetation. No discharging or using any fireworks, tracer ammunition, or other pyrotechnic devices, including exploding targets. No cutting, welding, or grinding metals in areas of dry vegetation. No operating a motorcycle, chainsaw, ATV, or other small internal combustion engine without an approved and working spark arrestor. On behalf of all the firefighters in Cache County, we appreciate your efforts in preventing wildfire.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Hour 2 of today's show. It's a beautiful Thursday afternoon. It was supposed to be overcast and possibly rainy again. Looks like that might be developing, but yeah, it ended up being just a beautiful day and a bit cooler. Not as cool as yesterday, but either way, we'll take it. And so thank you for joining us. Hour 2 of today's show. It is Thursday, July 29th. I'm Jason Williams, Bill Walter here in the studio as well. And we're kicking things off with a very special guest to talk about something, well, frankly, very special happening. I'm so excited to see this because it is a full-on embrace at the highest levels of transportation planning that you can imagine here in the state of a multi-pronged long-term approach to transportation. But rather than try and describe it myself, we'll leave that to our guest. We're joined right now by Active Transportation Manager, Planning and Investment of Utah's Department of Transportation, UDOT, Heidi Goedhart, joining us. And Heidi, appreciate taking some time for KVNU today. If you can, maybe start us off with the most obvious question: what is active transportation?
Yeah, thanks so much, Jason and Bill, for having me on the show today.
Well, thanks for joining us.
Super excited to kind of have this opportunity to chat with your listeners about active transportation. So that sounds a little buzzwordy. It's like, what is active transportation? I don't know. So I'll break it down. It's basically the act of using your body to get from point A to point B. So that includes walking, using a wheelchair, riding a scooter, riding a bicycle. It even includes like e-bikes, e-scooters, rollerblades, roller skates, that kind of stuff. And, you know, it may seem like those are kind of like recreational things or kind of, you know, things that you do for fun. But they're actually really critical parts to our transportation system. And, you know, the original mode of, you know, transportation was walking. You know, before we had horses and automobiles and bicycles, we had walking. And so it's still really a critical part of our system. It helps improve like physical activity and health and gives people of all ages and abilities options to get around in their communities and in their neighborhoods. And so at UDOT, we're just wanting to understand how we can better provide for people that need to bike and walk, and what we can be doing along our system to help improve those conditions, whether that's putting in bike lanes, building trails, considering crossings, bridges, under tunnels, all that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, we're really excited to kind of have this planning process kind of in advance of our long-range plan to really understand what the public wants.
And that's exactly what's coming up. Well, actually happening now with a few weeks left to get involved in this. It is a public input request. They want your opinion. They want you to be a part of this. They want you to weigh in. And there are a couple of different ways you can do so. We'll get to that in just a bit. Heidi, the reason I was excited about this, so a few years here doing the show, talking about transportation, talking about how we get around, how things have changed and all of that. Based on my experience, hearing from our listeners, hearing from the community here, I think most people, when they think UDOT, they think the freeway. Or maybe some of the larger highways, or Main Street Logan here in Cache Valley, of course, is a UDOT road. And so they think, when it comes to transportation planning, they think it's just adding lanes or changing the direction here or there. Adding active transportation into the mix really brings this to a much broader picture, right, of how we get around.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a bunch of quality of life elements to how we get around, right? Like if your only option to get anywhere was a car, we wouldn't have the opportunity to fly. You wouldn't walk to your neighbor's house or your friend's house or, to libraries or church even, right?
Sure.
But the instant that we start having, kind of this more well-rounded approach to give people options in how they live their lives and how they can kind of easily go from walking to riding in the car to getting on an airplane or, hopping on their bike to get to school, suddenly we have kind of more robust options within our communities, right? And I think that kind of helps elevate quality of life and life quality. You think about kids that, they're too young to drive, or like the elderly, they're, kind of aging out of driving and, don't have like the reflexes or the kind of rapid thought process that sometimes is required with driving. And so, by having access to transit, by having bike lanes and trails and sidewalk infrastructure, we can more kind of appropriately uplift every member of our community. So.
It's amazing to think of where this all could go, and maybe to contextualize this a bit for listeners. I mentioned Main Street Logan here in Cache Valley. Logan City's Main Street is a UDOT road, meaning UDOT manages that road and plans for the future when it comes to Main Street. But knowing how many people, for example, maybe walk to downtown Logan or bike to downtown Logan for a night out on a weekend could influence future decisions UDOT might make involving Main Street and the cars, right? They're interconnected.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes the lack of a crossing or how long it takes for you to cross the road. These are all kind of considerations that, we're trying to balance at UDOT. And, we actually have like a really exciting project that was actually the highest prioritized one in the state on the Logan River on Main Street under US 89. We're going to be helping build a tunnel to help facilitate people crossing Logan Main Street, right? It's a really big road. Sometimes it might be daunting to try to,
Sure.
feel like, oh, I don't really feel safe jaywalking in this location, or, it's so far away to the next signal. And so this is a really awesome project that UDOT's doing in coordination with the city. And so it'll be really cool to see it kind of come to life.
It's a great example, too, of what it means when we say something like active transportation, because anyone here in the Valley knows that trail system, we've discussed it many times with Logan City Mayor Holly Daines, and that adding that tunnel into the mix, making this a walkable area, but at the same time having access to public transit, having access to a place to park your car, combining all these things together, really, when it comes to quality of life, as Heidi's mentioned here, ups the stakes quite a bit. So I'm excited to see this happen. Heidi, I imagine it's got to be a challenge to plan for, even regionally here in the state, because active transportation in downtown Logan probably far different from active transportation over there in Brigham City or Box Elder County. Is that a particular challenge to looking ahead with this type of stuff?
Yeah, it is a challenge, but it's also a really awesome opportunity. We've kind of taken this transition at UDOT. You're going to start hearing people at UDOT say, hey, we need to move people, not just cars. And so I think that every community has a different flavor or approach to what that might mean. And so while it might seem daunting to do active transportation planning across the state, I think every single community and neighborhood and city and town, they're going to say, this is how we want to do active transportation here. Like instead of bike lanes, we really want trails, or, instead of sidewalks, we really want multi-use pathways. And so, I think that, we have a lot of flexibility with how we approach roadways and how they need to function for a community. And we want to be considerate of those community contexts. And so by going out and kind of asking what each, what residents want, what cities want, we can kind of understand that context a little bit more and deliver projects that kind of meet the flavor of the community, if you will.
And to do that, UDOT is seeking public input from every community in the state when it comes to active transportation and how that might be incorporated into long-term transportation plans on state roads. This will also influence county and city planning independent of UDOT planning. This is all interconnected, so an important opportunity for every single one of you out there listening to play a part in this and submit some public feedback, some input during this public comment period. The Active Transportation Plan public comment period has begun and goes until August 28th. So you've got a window of time to think about this, but less time than you probably think. If you're like me, that deadline will come up fast. And Heidi, there are a couple of different ways people can offer their feedback, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So primarily, we have a project website. You can visit that at publicinput.com/UDOT planning. And so at that website, you can quickly respond to a survey. You can pin locations on a map. You can leave comments. We've really optimized the website for mobile, so it can be very easy to just pop this up on, the browser in your phone and kind of interact with it in that manner. If you're not tech savvy, don't worry, we have other options for you. You're more than welcome to email us at planning@utah.gov, or we have a project hotline where you can kind of just say what your comments are, your concerns, express, like a desire or a maintenance need, perhaps like, oh, this bike lane needs more sweeping, there's always debris, or, whatever the issue is. And so you can call that hotline at 385-360-1900.
This is, again, an opportunity. This is a chance for literally all of us to offer some public comment to influence the long-term planning when it comes to UDOT, active transportation. And again, these decisions do influence a lot of other things here in Cache Valley and in every other county in the state as far as county and city planning as well. So an opportunity up until August 28th when this public comment period closes to submit some input, some ideas, your thoughts, if you'd like to see something changed or different. As Heidi mentioned, a lot of folks in our community here and a lot of places throughout the state unable to drive or choose not to drive. And so active transportation, a big part of their day. Imagine being able to influence decisions that might affect Main Street Logan or Highway 8991 or any of the state roads here in the valley by saying, this is how I get around. This is where I put my feet down on the cement for a little while, or my bike tires, whatever it might be. That's exactly what this is about. And Heidi, I appreciate taking some time for KVNU today. And I just had one last question for you. And maybe this is an unfair question, but where does all this go from here? Once the public comment period closes, what happens next? Or is that something that you're waiting to see how much comment you get?
No, it's a great question. We've already gotten about 1,200 people that have responded through various methods.
Wow.
To give public input so far, which is pretty amazing considering we've only been launching this effort for about a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Wow.
And so this is a little bit of a precursor, if you will, like a prelude or the first step before UDOT jumps into our long-range plan. And this is a giant planning effort that happens every 4 years. And we anticipate that this initial public involvement will identify projects that need to be incorporated into the long-range plan. And it will also help us understand what type of planning resources we as a DOT might need to help provide to local governments to really understand some of these issues or comments that come up or plan facilities and iron out the actual plan and the engineering and kind of the project implementation behind them. And so this is a little bit of a baby step, but we're super excited to see, what the public thinks about what we should be doing and how we should be building it. So.
And these opinions coming directly from the people who are using it most or have some ideas on what might make them use it more, invaluable, to say the least. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Really excited to see where this goes. And again, excited UDOT is embracing this approach, both public comment, but also, looking at this in such a broad scale, remembering that feet and bike tires are part of transportation as well. It's easy to forget, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's, there's always going to be people that are walking or biking, whether they, have to because they can't afford a car, or they choose to because they want to improve their health or the air quality. And so, we kind of recognize that it's a really critical part of our system, even though it might seem like a small one. So, we're excited to do this planning and to be building more projects moving forward.
This is, again, happening until August 28th. UDOT seeking public comment during this currently open public comment period. Wraps up August 28th, and they're asking for your opinion, your thoughts on the future, your experiences in the present, all of that as part of this UDOT active transportation plan starts to take shape, more so than it already has. This is important to the future of how we get around here in Cache Valley and throughout the state of Utah. So get out, share your opinion. As Heidi mentioned, a couple of different ways you can do that. Publicinput.com/UDOT planning. You can also email planning@utah.gov. Planning@utah.gov, maybe in the subject mention active transportation public comment. And you can also call the number, as Heidi mentioned, 385-360-1900 and leave a voicemail. All of that is linked to on our Facebook page via the udot.utah.gov site, where all this information is available. And again, the public comment period closes August 28th. But Cache Valley, get out there, make sure your voice is heard. Our guest again, Active Transportation Manager at the Utah Department of Transportation, Heidi Goedhart. And Heidi, appreciate taking some time for KVNU today. Fascinating stuff, and really excited to see where all this goes. You guys are brave, taking on this much work, but I'm really glad you're out there doing it.
Wonderful. Thanks so much for the time today, Jason.
Well, thank you for your time. A pleasure to speak with you. And again, for listeners, please be a part of this. This is such a big deal. Active Transportation Manager Heidi Goedhart, our guest. Again, the public comment period goes until August 28th. Everything you need to know at the UDOT website, udot.utah.gov, or visit publicinput.com/UDOT planning, or just follow the links I've posted on our Facebook page, whichever is easiest for you. And we'll be back with more of For the People right after this.
Oh, little piggy, let me in or I'll blow this building down.
Nice try, Wolfie.
Yeah,
but this
thank
here
you.
building's made from steel.
All right then, here goes. Gosh, that didn't work.
A building from Northern Steel Buildings will keep out the big bad wolf, and they don't break the piggy bank. Visit
Wonderful.
NorthernSteelBuildings.com to see their
It was
quality
great.
work, or call 435-677-7300. Northern Steel Buildings.
Okay, you guys have a good
from
afternoon.
concept to construction.
And the winner is Daryl's Appliance in beautiful downtown Benson, voted best appliance dealer in northern Utah.
This is Jay at Daryl's Appliance. We sincerely thank you, Cache Valley, for your vote. We want to share more great news by introducing the newest member of our Scratch and Dent family, Whirlpool. That's right, we now carry Whirlpool-made appliances at Scratch and Dent prices, always backed by our exclusive 2-year warranty and our famous Daryl service team. Come check us out today. Daryl's, west on Airport Road.
Utah Festival Opera and Musical Theater takes the stage July 7th through the 31st. Fantastics, the longest-running Broadway musical in history. Souvenir, the hilarious tale of a wealthy socialite who loves to sing but cannot carry a tune. 33 Variations is all about Beethoven. I Do, a 60-year musical love story. Don't miss the inspiring Mozart Requiem. Yearning to emerge from last year's cocoon? Utah Festival is just the ticket. Buy yours at utahfestival.org.
Friday edition, Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show, the latest on infrastructure, mask madness, and the budget. I'll be in Vegas, Mask Central, unfortunately. Buck Sexton will be in New York, soon to be Mask Central.
Can't believe it's happening, but we did predict it, so I guess we'll have to get ready for it, Clay. We'll get into that, plus perhaps the madness at the border, the lack of the rule of law, and all the insecurity it's creating. That and more on the next edition of the Clay and Buck Show.
10 to 1 on News Talk KVNU, 102 FM and 610 AM.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Thanks again to Heidi Goedhart for joining us. She is Active Transportation Manager with UDOT, Utah Department of Transportation. And I'm going to throw this out there again because this is, well, as she mentioned, about 1,200 people have responded already, and it's only been going for just about 10 days. The public comment period goes up until August 28th. If you've heard us here on the show in the past or even heard sometimes elected officials here in Cache Valley mention that they were disappointed that UDOT didn't prioritize that or this here in Cache Valley, this is one of the reasons, honestly, is that a public comment period has opened up, and the public comments are dominated by the Wasatch Front, Salt Lake, and Utah County areas. And UDOT has no way of knowing that, but that's literally what happens. And so hopefully everyone here in Cache Valley takes some time to get out and be a part of this public comment period. You can submit your comments online, again, at publicinput.com/UDOT planning. I've linked to that on our Facebook page as well if you want to find that there later if you're driving now, for example. You can also just email planning@utah.gov. Maybe in the subject there, let them know you're offering public comment on UDOT's active transportation plan. And that, again, is planning@utah.gov. You can also call 385-360-1900. Again, 385-360-1900. You can leave a voicemail there. Submit your comments that way. So, again, this goes until August 28th. The focus is active transportation planning. They'll be coming up with an active transportation plan for every region in this state. And with a lot of state roads here in Cache Valley, from the highway to another highway to Main Street Logan, under UDOT jurisdiction, basically, coordinating this type of stuff, getting feedback from the community is really key to make sure things are planned well. Heidi mentioned the tunnel that's going to go in. Mayor Holly Daines had mentioned that last time she was with us here on the show for Speak to the Mayor last month. She'd said that tunnel is something that's in the works. Wasn't sure yet at that time how big of a priority it was going to get from UDOT. It sounds like, speaking with Heidi, that is going to happen soon. But that's more importantly a great example of how getting community feedback on foot traffic and bicycle traffic can really influence how UDOT makes decisions when it comes to a state road for cars and freight vehicles. We tend to think of these things as separate because, I mean, really they are. Traditionally, where people are driving at 85 miles an hour, people aren't walking, or at least you hope that's the case, right? Traditionally, where cyclists are most active, your interaction with them in a car is literally they're on the side of the road, you're going by, hopefully at a safe speed, so you're not putting them or you at risk. But we tend to think of the two as different, and departments of transportation throughout the United States have made this mistake for years. Ironically, I brought this up on the show yesterday, not even as a setup for this interview today, but I talked about this problem UDOT, and not just UDOT, but almost every state transportation department in the country had. Well, on the East Coast, they kind of, at a certain point, were forced out of this mentality because they ran out of space. But here in the West, in Utah, in Idaho, in Wyoming, there's this mentality that, you just keep adding a lane. You just keep adding a lane. Well, California's there to teach us that doesn't work. Doesn't really reduce congestion. Just adds another lane of congestion. It reduces congestion for a brief period of time because there's an extra lane. But once that is common knowledge in the public, that extra lane just fills up. And we've seen this again and again and again. So it's going to take these more creative approaches. So I really am, truly excited to see UDOT talking about foot traffic and people on bikes and people getting off of CVTD buses and then walking a few blocks to an event in downtown. It's for UDOT to start factoring, well, and they have been for a while now. I don't mean to imply this is brand new, but for UDOT to more so, we'll put it that way, more so factor this stuff into their roads planning and their long-term planning. It's a pretty big deal. And it'll influence a lot of things, and it'll lead to something that I'm personally a huge fan of and hope to see more of in downtown Logan, which is that focus on walkability. In fact, it's never made sense to me that so many downtowns are car-centric, because no matter what, the parking is going to be limited. There is never going to be enough parking for the number of people you and every business owner in downtown would like in downtown. Because if there was stuff to do, you'd be there. You'd be part of that group, right? Every business owner, they would love as many people as they can handle coming downtown. There will never be enough spots for cars to meet that need and possibly that demand. So that kind of thinking always seemed boneheaded to me, and yet every downtown is planned that way. When you drive through any town, in the West especially, they're planned that way. They're planned around parking spaces and acres of asphalt that's just sitting there most of the time waiting for a car to be put in it. You know what you could use that for if your downtown was a more walkable area? And sure, it's a little more inconvenient for some. You have to park a couple blocks away if you drove downtown and then walk in. Most people are going to be okay with this, especially if UDOT, for example, has planned their management of Main Street Logan in such a way that walking into downtown is safe and convenient and easy to do. There's my overall pitch for this type of coordinated planning, considering other factors more than just cars in our planning. Very important. So be a part of this. Again, if you don't weigh in, I guarantee folks along the Wasatch Front and in Salt Lake and Utah counties are. So this is an opportunity for Cache Valley to actually be a voice in all of this, be a voice in the future of UDOT's planning. The public comment period goes until August 28th. The website, again, publicinput.com/UDOT planning, or you can just visit udot.utah.gov and see a link there to the public comment period section. You can also email your public comments on active transportation. These can be ideas, experiences, just general thoughts you have. Send them to planning@utah.gov via email. And finally, you can call and leave a voicemail at 385-360-1900. All of that on our Facebook page. If you're driving now, I want to find that there later. And thanks again to our guest, Heidi Goedhart, Active Transportation Manager at the Utah Department of Transportation. We'll see where all this goes. Public comment period closes August 28th. We'll probably hear some sort of report on that within the weeks after that. And we'll have an idea of where this is all headed in downtown Logan, in downtown Brigham City, all across the state. We'll be back with more of KVNU's For the People after these headlines with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 5:37. The news is brought to you by CBD7. The state's announcement today of 1,113 new cases of COVID-19 over the last 24 hours prompted another plea from Governor Spencer Cox for Utahns to reverse the numbers by getting vaccinated. The governor said that today's case count is another step in the wrong direction for the state. The Thursday case count is the most since 1,148 new cases were reported in mid-February. And updated figures from Bear River Health Department showed 89 new cases since yesterday in the district that takes in Cache, Box Elder, and Rich counties. Statewide, there were 3 new COVID deaths reported today, and there have been 2,450 total deaths in Utah since the start of the pandemic, including 114 in Cache, Box Elder, and Rich counties. More than 2.9 million Utahns have been tested for coronavirus, and 5.3 million tests have been administered in the state since the start of the pandemic. Statewide, COVID hospitalizations increased to 353 from 350 since Wednesday. 156 of those patients are in intensive care units, one fewer than on Wednesday. The number of fully vaccinated Utahns has grown to 1,475,806. In anticipation of continued low water levels due to extreme drought conditions across the state, the Utah Division of Wildlife Resources issued more emergency changes to Utah's fishing regulations on Wednesday. Those changes will allow anglers to catch and keep more fish at some additional water bodies around the state. Drought impacts fish by reducing the amount of water available in lakes, reservoirs, and streams. Smaller amounts of water heat up more quickly and reach higher temperatures, which is problematic for fish because warm water holds less oxygen than colder water. The combination of high temperatures and low oxygen can stress fish, causing poor growth and disease, and can sometimes be fatal to fish. Following changes are effective immediately and will remain in place until October 31st. The water bodies with increased daily fish limits in our region include Newton Reservoir in Cache County, increasing the daily limit to 100 bluegill, 100 yellow perch, and 100 black crapi, and Pineview Reservoir in Weber County, increasing the daily limit there as well. You can get more information at the Utah Division of Wildlife Resources website. Moab officials asked residents to stay in their homes last night after flash flooding ripped through the city, downing trees, damaging streets, and filling roads with debris and water. Fox 13 reports Grand County was placed under a flash flood warning that expired at 10:30 last night. Radar showed thunderstorms had produced between 1 and 2 inches of rain, with more expected. Small creeks and streams, as well as streets and other areas with poor drainage, were at risk of flash flooding. We'll check our forecast next. KVNU News Time is 5:41.
Trouble with pain, sleep, or anxiety? Want better health? Try CBD7, the CBD experts. You simply can't get this water-soluble CBD at grocery, convenience, or health food stores. Water-soluble CBD7 absorbs 15 times better and tastes great. CBD7 has the only clinically proven formula with real measurable results. Many feel better in minutes. CBD7 is not a drug and has no side effects. Other CBDs just can't do all that. Visit CBD7 today. Learn about CBD and try our best for free.
KVNU weather tonight, a 20% chance of showers and thunderstorms this evening, partly cloudy after midnight. Overnight low in the lower 60s, and then partly cloudy, slight chance of rain showers Friday morning, and then rain showers likely and a chance of thunderstorms in the afternoon, high around 90, chance of precipitation 70% chance of showers Friday night into Saturday as well, and also on Sunday. 90 has been our high. It's 88 right now at KVNU. KVNU weather is brought to you by Maple Creek Ranch. They offer a relaxing way of life near beautiful canyons that converge on the ranch for afternoon day hikes and horseback rides in the Cache National Forest. They are continuing to offer 2.5-acre lots, so schedule your appointment today at maplecreekranch.net. For more details on these and other stories, visit CacheValleyDaily.com.
If you think it's expensive to hire a professional, just wait until you hire an amateur.
Why the heck is the roof leaking? Larry, you said you got it fixed.
I thought it was fixed, Donna. Everything was fine until it started raining.
Larry, that's the point of fixing the roof, is so we can actually live here when it's stormy outside.
This is David with Roof Rescue. Our experienced roofing team is tried and true and will fix your roof guaranteed. Visit roofrescueusa.com to schedule your free roof inspection. Roof Rescue, providing watertight peace of mind.
Hi, this is Chris Wilson at Wilson Motor Superstore next to the Olive Garden. If you're looking for a pre-owned vehicle, now is a great time to buy during our clearance sales event. We have reduced prices on over 250 pre-owned vehicles with over 30 vehicles under $10,000. We can help you find the right vehicle. Check out our inventory online at wilsonmotor.com or drop in for a test drive at one of our 2 great locations, 328 North Main or next to the Olive Garden.
Wilson Motor Company, we make car buying easy.
The votes are in. The Cache County Fair and Rodeo has been voted Best of Northern Utah for Best Annual Event. This really is Northern Utah's favorite annual event, probably because there's so much to see and do. Animals and exhibits, vendor booths and entertainment, all kinds of tasty foods, carnival rides, and the area's longest-running, most popular world-class rodeo. The Cache County Fair and Rodeo, August 11th through the 14th.
Come on out, let's have some fun at the Cache County Fair.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. I'm Jason Williams. Man, during the break there, moved myself a little bit on accident. Clicked on a link on social media to a Best Friends Animal Society, people sharing their stories about their favorite pets who had since passed away. Touching. There's nothing like when you have that bond with that favorite dog. Every dog's good. You know, every dog is an opportunity for a best friend, and I love that. But there's that one dog that most people have in their life that just, anyway, touching stories. I've shared it on our Facebook page if you'd like to see it, but Best Friends Animal Society running a bit of a fundraiser around this, just asking people to share their stories of their favorite dogs, and they also recommend giving to your local shelters if you can, especially if that shelter is no-kill, which the Cache Humane Society happens to be. CacheHumane.org, their website, by the way, if you want to go make a donation there. Just a quick little unsolicited plug for them, but great video from Best Friends Animal Society. I've linked to it on our Facebook page. This was news this week that this has been in the works for so long that it was almost anticlimactic when the grand opening actually happened, because it's just taken so long. But man, is this a big deal. The Dan Gillenskog Veterans Resource Center officially opened yesterday here in Logan, and that really is a pretty big deal. Phil Redlinger, the CEO of Cache Valley Veterans Association, has been working on this center for, man, I think the first time we talked to him here on the show was at least 5 years ago, maybe 6. It's been a long time.
Yeah, I kind of remember that.
Yeah, long time. And Dan himself, before his passing, was also a frequent guest here on the show. Fun person to interview. Just really charismatic and larger than life, and yet so open and blunt about his experience. Dan, before his passing, was the first person to say, if someone wants to kneel when the flag is displayed or the national anthem is played, that is their right to do so. And he reminded me that as Vietnam War veterans, many of them knelt during the national anthem, as a lot of NFL players are getting criticized for doing right now. Dan was the first to remind me that they knelt during the national anthem for years after returning, because they were upset at how they were treated by folks here at home and by the government when they got back. Government, of course, trying to pretend that a huge mistake wasn't made with that war, and they did so by just kind of sweeping Vietnam veterans under the rug and pretending they didn't exist. So Dan said there was a lot of protest around that. Anyway, I enjoyed his bluntness, his frankness. I'm happy that his name's going on this Veterans Resource Center. Dan will be missed. But hats off to Phil for getting this underway many, many years ago and finally a reality. The Veterans Center, with Dan Gillenskog Veterans Resource Center, full name on that, is located at 1760 North, 200 East, Suite 10 in North Logan. And it's basically, as the name implies, a central point for resources. This is a theme that's come up again and again as I've had the opportunity to speak with many people involved with veterans here in Cache Valley and northern Utah at large. The resources are out there. Sadly, many veterans who would benefit from them oftentimes don't know they're out there. So connecting vets with existing programs, existing support systems, existing financial aid, existing housing aid, existing aid in seeking a job, or even up training for a better job. all of that exists, both federally and at the state level here in Utah, and yet many veterans never get connected to it. That's the purpose of this resource center. Phil told us years ago when he first launched this effort. So, according to the CashValleyDaily.com story on this grand opening yesterday, every seat in the new facility was occupied, and there were 50 or so additional people standing and listening to the presentation from outside, and just a lot of excitement about this finally happening. Phil Redlinger, again, the CEO of Cache Valley Veterans Association, told spectators there at the grand opening yesterday, said, "I've lived in places where a VA facility was right across the street, and I could get help in minutes. But here in Cache Valley, it took a long time to wait for transportation to get to Salt Lake and then wait again for them to see you." That's what veterans here in Cache Valley have been going through forever to get these resources. They had to get a shuttle, and oftentimes they'd have to wait until there were 4 or 5 of them ready to go at once. And then they go to Salt Lake and then wait more for their appointment. Or when they did finally move some things to Ogden, they still had to go do the same thing, just 20 minutes of a shorter drive. Still a drive. And so the center is, Phil says he hopes the center will alleviate that. Like I say, many of these resources out there already, just connecting veterans to them has been a challenge here in northern Utah. And again, those resources range from finding work to support systems, dealing with issues that plague many veterans today, from PTSD to just being able to have a place to talk to other veterans. And Phil said this is a place where veterans can get improved, optimal service and access to veteran subsidies, access to help if there's a situation with homelessness, temporary or ongoing. Phil said these battles are real even here in Cache Valley. So this multi-year effort to make this center happen took a lot of work and a lot of support from the community. And Phil said yesterday to those on hand that there's no facility like this one dedicated solely to helping veterans west of the Mississippi River, which is really ludicrous if you think about it, that these aren't in every downtown, in every city, or at least in every large regional area within a, say 20-minute drive for veterans. But sadly, that is the case. This is a unique facility. It's right here in Cache Valley. And the center, Phil said, will be there to assist veterans and their families, by the way, from all over northern Utah, southeastern Idaho, and even western Wyoming. So people will even be coming through Garden City and Logan Canyon routes to get access to this. There should be more of them, but at least there's this one, to say the least. There should be more, but at least there's this one, and hats off to everyone involved. The grand opening of the Dan Gillenskog Veterans Resource Center, again, happened yesterday here in Logan. Another note here, Dr. Robert Young, who's a dermatologist and U.S. Navy veteran, donated the space for this center in the Rocky Mountain Dermatology Building. So that's how this all really got rolling. And Dr. Young said that this is his comment from yesterday's grand opening. He said, "I stood there when this was just an empty shell, and before it even started, and seeing it completed, he said, I feel this is a place of honor for all veterans, and residents of Cache Valley should see this and be proud that veterans are getting this type of support." So the Marine Corps, VFW, and DAV all have permanent space in the facility, but many state and even federal resources are also going to be connected to the facility. About 3,800 square feet, large conference space for meetings even there at this facility. So long overdue, and happy again to see Dan Gillenskog's name on this. Purple Heart recipient and Marine Corps veteran of the Vietnam War. Dan himself, a longtime activist for veterans here in Cache Valley. That torch being carried on by others, in this case Phil Redlinger, who is again the CEO of the Cache Valley Veterans Association, helping to coordinate and make all this happen. Grand opening official yesterday of the Dan Gillenskog Veterans Resource Center. Again, the location on that 1760 North, 200 East, Suite 10 in North Logan. If you or anyone you know might benefit from these resources, this is both for veterans and their families. check it out. A link to the CashValleyDaily.com story on this on the Facebook page, and we'll be back with more of For the People right after this.
Advanced Heating and AC is honored to be named gold medalist for the best of Northern Utah in the AC HVAC category. They were named silver medalist for place to work and remodeler contractor. They thank you for your votes of confidence in their company. You have many choices when it comes to your home's heating and air conditioning system. Make sure you choose the gold medal winning company, Advanced Heating and AC. Call 752-7272 or stop by their showroom west of DI. Online at advancedheating-ac.com.
Every Saturday morning at 9, you get information to prepare you with retirement solutions for the journey ahead. It's Smart Money Ascent with Clayton Alexander of Teton Wealth Group.
How do we solve that number one fear or that number one concern? Make sure you never run out of money.
And Teton Wealth Group's Ethan Miller.
Then, when you leave Teton, when you leave our offices, you're going to have a plan that you're both excited about.
It's where your retirement questions are answered. Smart Money Ascent, Saturday mornings at 9 on News Talk KVNU, 102 FM and 610 AM.
My part-time service in the Army National Guard makes it possible for me to be more for the community I call home. I'm a better neighbor because my service has taught me how important it is to be a team player. My training helps me in my classes when I give attention to detail to the task at hand. My service in the Army National Guard allows me to keep my country safe from threats. Learn more about how you too can live and serve part-time by visiting NationalGuard.com.
Sponsored by the Utah Army National Guard. Aired by the Utah Broadcasters Association and this station.
I'm Larry Gelwicks, the Getaway Guru. Join me on The Travel Show every Saturday at 11 a.m., and I'll tell you where to go and how to get there with the best travel deals on the planet, including how to travel more and pay less, free this and free that promotions, and insider secrets on what the airlines, cruise lines, and hotels don't want you to know, along with your call-in travel questions every Saturday, 11 a.m., right here on News Talk 610 KVNU.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. This has been a pretty active week in politics in general, nationally. Here in Utah, though, pretty slow week when it comes to politics in general. But we do have some hints about the upcoming legislative session, and specifically what we might be looking at as far as big ticket items. We'll be talking about that on tomorrow's show. Some insider info sent to us by our friends at the Utah State Senate on bill files that are already open, some hot button issues that leadership may allow a discussion or a debate on, may not, actually. This is the privilege of being in leadership in the House and the Senate. You can take any lawmaker's proposal and say, as leadership, they can't force them, but they can say, as leadership, we would respectfully ask that you hold that bill or that topic for another time. Other times it's a little more blunt than that. Other times I've actually been in the room when this happened. Leadership turns to a lawmaker and says, not this session. And that is known as something you don't really argue with. Lawmakers can't argue with it, but it will sometimes cost them committee seats, and speakers of the House can be a bit vindictive, with good reason, usually. So we've got some glimpses into what might be coming up. Here's a bit of a spoiler on this. These, and I'm really happy to say this, but these national issues, these hot button, very political, but really nothing to do with Utah issues, are absent so far. Other than one or two lawmakers that just won't let it go, but that probably won't go anywhere. I'm really happy to see that. The nationalization of state legislatures, this is happening in red states and blue states, does no one any good. State legislatures are there to do things different than what the federal government does. And if they're debating and talking about the same things the Congress is spending their time debating and talking about, aren't you at that point just de facto enacting a de facto repeal of the 10th Amendment? Haven't you, by nationalizing state legislatures, just made state legislatures an echo chamber of Congress and therefore irrelevant? I hate to see things go in this direction. So I'm excited to see Utah lawmakers pushing back against this for the most part. Final story here. I've linked to it on our Facebook page. The numbers today on COVID-19, we'll be talking about this in greater context tomorrow. Not good. Cases soaring to numbers we haven't seen since February, leading Governor Cox to issue a statement that was basically a plea, begging. Governor Cox called this a pandemic of the unvaccinated, and he said this is tragic for two reasons. One, people are dying. Two, it is 100% preventable, which somehow Governor Cox says makes it even worse. We'll talk about what he had to say and why, and what the Utah Department of Health is saying about these numbers. That's tomorrow on For the People, as well as the For the People movie show with Andy Morgan of AndyAtTheMovies.com. Dave Ram.